Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Thank you for being here. My name is Andrew, coming to you from the beautiful Carolinas. Today's topic is going to be the relationship you never knew you were in. Think about that for a minute. Everyone, if you like the content, please like, subscribe, and share. So I'm referring to the narcissistic relationship. That was a relationship you did not even know you were in. You thought you were in a beautiful, kind, loving, stable, healthy relationship. Maybe it was a friendship. Maybe it was a brother, sister, mom, dad, aunt, uncle. Maybe it was a coworker. Maybe it was a romantic interest. Maybe it was your husband or wife. You knew that something was off. The longer you were in that relationship, you knew that something was off, but you couldn't quite put your finger on it. Now, you did not know what you were up against because, again, you weren't taught what narcissism was in school. So you could not wrap your head around the toxic and poor behavior that you were experiencing throughout that relationship. But what did you do? I will tell you, you gave to a fault. You did not quit. You kept on working for the relationship. You kept on being the glue that kept that relationship together, despite the fact that the narcissist was trying to tear it down. The narcissist looked at you as an opportunity that I mentioned so frequently recently in videos. They sized you up. They figured out what made you you, and they got as close to you as they possibly could. They learned all about your past, all about your present, and they wanted to know what your hopes, your dreams, your aspirations, your goals were. They wanted to know what you were going to do, what you wanted to accomplish. So one example may be that maybe you wanted to be a doctor or a lawyer or something. Well, you had to study and you had to go to school to do that. And when you did that, that meant that you down the road would be earning a large amount of money. At least that's what they thought. So they said, wait a minute, this person's going to be earning all the money in the relationship. Let's say it's a romantic interest. Okay, or it could even be your mom or dad trying to take money from you. But the point being, they said, okay, this person's going to be making a lot of money down the road. What will I do? I will get as close to them possible, maybe even marry them. I will help them get through school, maybe, or I will, no matter what, I'll have a long game. I'll have a plan in place. And once that person passes the bar or they graduate and they become a doctor, etc., and the big money starts rolling in, that's when I will start overbuying. That's when I'll start having Amazon come to the house 7 days a week, 8 if possible. That's when I'll start asking for a bigger house or a fancier watch or a bigger car, or if you could help me start off my own business. This is what the narcissist does. Now, if you flip it, and if the narcissist was the person that went to med school and all these kinds of things, it's the exact opposite usually. Not all the time, but usually they're going to withhold money. They're going to control the finances. They are going to give you an allowance or a budget for you to spend or not spend. They're going to give you the endless to-do list. In other words, if the narcissist is the doctor or the lawyer or somebody, I'm just using those two occupations as examples, but if the narcissist was making a lot of money salary-wise, they would usually ask you to not work. And because what did they want to do there? They wanted to have you be the pawn, the puppet, the person running around paying the bills, dealing with the electric company, dealing with the internet, dealing with the groceries, all these things. They kept you occupied, but you didn't know it. You had no idea. And that was part of the relationship that you were a part of that you didn't even know about. You see, the narcissist kept you on the side, whether you married them or not. And I focus a lot of times on the romantic relationship, but it doesn't matter what your relationship was to the narcissist. The point is you thought it was one thing and it was something completely opposite, completely different, because you were in that relationship thinking that you were doing exactly what you should be doing. Perhaps you were a people pleaser or a yes person, or you didn't have boundaries, or you couldn't say no, the strongest word in the English language. And remember, when you say no to something or someone, you are saying yes to yourself. But you were doing everything you thought and more in that relationship. And the narcissist, what they were doing is they were watching you run around and do everything that they wanted you to do for them. They wanted every hoop that they wanted you to jump through, you would do it. Every once in a while, you would put up a question or a boundary and say, hey, what's going on? How come I'm doing everything and you're never even around anymore? And like, what is this? What kind of relationship is this? I didn't sign up for this. When you would say that, you would get met with a couple things. One, the narcissist, and remember, back then you did not know they were a narcissist. So number one, they could say to you, I didn't sign up for it either, because they're all cocky and arrogant now, because they are now in a much better position of power and control, certainly over you because you're in the trauma bond, but also because they're making all the money and you don't have one leg to stand on because you're financially dependent upon the narcissist. So they could say that, or they could flip it and just say, Oh, what are you talking about? I have no idea. I really want to be there for you. I want to help you out. So they'll give you a whole bunch of word salad or a bunch of nonsense to get you off their scent. And then tomorrow they'll go back to peppering you again. In other words, nothing ever improves in the narcissistic relationship. These relationships are built on quicksand. They're built on houses of cards. There is no stability in them. There is one person in the relationship consistently trying to find your replacement, consistently trying to abuse you and manipulate you, and consistently looking for new sources of supply. And there's the other person who is you, or was you, and you're the person working for the relationship. You thought that you were headed in the same direction as the narcissist, and nothing, and I mean nothing, could be further from the truth. The narcissist knew that that relationship had an expiration date, and it was just a matter of time when they would pull the plug, end it with you, insert the new supply, and go off and slither away into the darkness. Or you would stay trapped in the narcissistic fog and you would continue to work for them, and you never would figure out what kind of relationship you were in, i.e. the toxic narcissistic relationship. This is the relationship that you did not yet know you entered. Now, there are many terms and understandings of human nature that you were taught when you were in school and when you were younger. And different ethnicities, meaning different people that grew up in different parts or regions of the world, have different beliefs. But many times you heard things like this, like, hey, what happens in the family stays in the family. Nothing goes outside of these four walls. Keep it in the house. Don't share any information. These are family secrets. And you would be told things like that. And why you would be told them is because that's a culture from decades or hundreds of years long ago. Maybe some of these things still take place. As a matter of fact, I'm sure they do. But that is not the current mindset of the planet right now. The mindset is stand up for yourself. If you're being mistreated or if you're being abused or manipulated, stand up and understand that being in that relationship one day longer than you need to be once you've identified it is the path. And going no contact, blocking these people, deleting them, removing all flying monkeys and people associated with them, again, is the path. If you can't do that, utilize gray rock. Just become dull and boring and get off the radar. But this is how you were brought up, or this is what you were told many times. So when you were growing up, or you were in your early adulthood, you would watch other people, how they interacted with each other. And you did not know what narcissism was back then. You just thought that whoever you were looking at, maybe they were dishing out some poor behavior, you just chalked it up to, oh, they had a tough day at the job, or their job is so stressful, or that's just the way they are, or they're just from that culture, or they're just from that country and that's the way they treat people. Well, no, that's not the way it works these days. The way it works is, it doesn't matter what language you speak, what the color of your skin is, and what you were taught. You need to be accountable for your poor behavior. You need to be accountable for your good behavior. You need to be treated the way you want to treat other people, or flip it. You need to be treated the way you treat other people. And that's the path. That's what's happening. That's why many people are becoming awakened and aware, educated and empowered. And it's not only about narcissism, it's about toxic individuals and poor behavior all over the globe. You see, you've experienced something that most people don't experience, and you've broken the trauma bond, or at least that's my hope. You either have done it, or you are doing it, or you will do it, and you're headed towards that pinnacle of indifference, the mountaintop of indifference. Most people don't even know what the trauma bond is. There are so many millions of people who are in a trauma bond, and they don't get that needle in a haystack. They don't find that light bulb moment. They don't type into Google or the search engine, spouse won't talk to me. They just don't get it. You're one of the fortunate ones. You're in the community. You're understanding that each and every day, tuning in for a video and paying it forward when you believe it will help another person. That's the path. If you don't believe you want to pay a video for it, don't. Just consume the video, and when you have acquired as much wisdom or knowledge that has satiated your cup, or your cup is full, then move on. Go live your best life. That's what you should be doing. The videos that I create are meant as tools. They're meant as crutches. They're meant as educational and informative experiences from my real life and from so many other experiences that I've encountered. And they're meant to pay it forward to help you understand that you are the priority. You come first, second, and third, and that you should not be tolerating any poor behavior for 1 minute longer than needed be. But the narcissist, the relationship that you were in, it's not what you thought it was. Remember, you weren't taught this in school, so you didn't know what you were up against. And each and every day that you were being gaslit, each and every day that you were being stonewalled, each and every day that you were experiencing the silent treatment, rage fits, triangulation, my least favorite thing these people do, you couldn't put the definition on the experience that you were going through because you didn't know what you were up against. And then lo and behold, one day you got your first light bulb moment and you figured out, oh my gosh, that's the relationship I was in? I knew my partner or my spouse had problems. I knew there was some concerns there, but I didn't know what it was. And we even went to therapy. We went to couples therapy, and we talked to the counselor or the therapist, and they couldn't identify what it was. Actually, when we went to couples therapy, it was my spouse and the therapist teaming up against me, blaming me. This is exactly what happens. It happens over and over again because the narcissist is a master manipulator. And if people aren't trained or haven't gone through the narcissistic abusive cycle, one thing I will tell you right now is they can't wrap their head around it, and they get duped and manipulated just like you did by the narcissist. This is what the narcissist does. This is how they're so good at fine-tuning their craft and changing the mask for whoever they need to change it for. But the relationship you thought you were in, it wasn't the relationship you were actually in. You were in a debilitating, trying, taxing relationship that was draining your resources. It was draining your bank account, your health, your network of friends, your social circle, your status. It was draining all the energy out of you. Remember, there are 4 ties that need to be cut post-narcissistic relationship. The first one is the emotional tie. The second one is the financial tie. The third one is the physical tie. And the fourth one is the spiritual tie. If you've cut all those ties, God bless you, you're in a great space. If you've cut one or more of them, keep moving forward. If you are just learning what the ties are, understand that you need to run for the hills from these people because they don't change. They only get worse over time. They deteriorate, and they want you to deteriorate with them. That is why so frequently I mention to people, the aging narcissist is not a pretty sight to see. This person is an entitled person who believes that they can wear clothes of 50 years ago and they can still have relationships with people that are 50 years younger than them, and they don't understand the message. But this is the life they lead. This is why each and every narcissistic person, as they age, they get worse and worse and worse because they can't bat their eyelashes like they used to. They can't have the rosy cheeks and have everybody adoring them and fawning all over them because their looks are different. That's just the way it is on the planet. Each and every one of us, our looks are changing each and every day. Life is dynamic. You can't maintain your youth. You can try to put a slowness to it, in other words, by using certain creams and things, but in the end, Father Time gets all of us, and that's just a fact of life. But the narcissist, they wanted you believing that the relationship that you were in was the exact relationship that you thought you were in. Play that again. That's a pivotal part of the video. The truth is, the relationship was the relationship that they wanted it to be. They just wore a mask to manipulate you. They fed you breadcrumbs of hope, perhaps even future fake to you. But they did everything they could to string you along as long as that mask would hold up, as long as they could tolerate being with you, as long as your resources were holding up, and as long as you could never figure them out. Then what happened? They slowly and surely looked for the new supply. Maybe it was as soon as you got married. Maybe it was a couple years later. I can't tell you the time frame, but I do know one thing. When you're not with the narcissist physically, the narcissist is certainly looking for supply. And also, I'll mention this part, even when you were with the narcissist, say you were on the couch watching Netflix or something back then when they were on one of their 3 smartphones, what were they doing? That's right, they were getting your replacement. They were talking with your friends. They were driving wedges between you and anything that mattered to you. But you were sitting there like a good little puppy dog thinking that you were in a healthy, stable, loving, kind relationship. Nothing could have been further from the truth. That's why the narcissist would look over at you from time to time, give you that smirk, and you would see the deep black beach balls of the pupils of their eyes looking at you, but you couldn't wrap your head around what that was. And just when they saw you looking at their facial features, they'd say, oh, keep watching the show, everything's fine, don't worry about it. But what were they doing? They were getting supply from you watching a Netflix movie when you were supposed to be watching it with them, and they were getting your replacement sitting right next to you on one of their 3 smartphones. See, that wasn't a healthy or stable relationship you were in. You thought you were in a healthy and stable relationship. That's what the narcissist wanted you to think, but the truth is you were not. Each and every day, your resources were becoming depleted. Each and every day, the narcissist was checking the pulse or the temperature of that relationship. Each and every day, they were trying to figure out when they were going to discard you. Each and every day, they were trying to figure out, is your health holding up? Are your finances still doing well? Do you have any more room on the credit card so I can spend more money? Can I order as many Amazon packages as possible so I can completely wipe you out? Should I triangulate you today or this weekend? Should I ask you to pick me up Friday at 5 and make you wait till 6:30 in the car? Because I can do that, and I'll sit around in my office, wherever I am, and I'll be texting your replacement while you sit there and think that you're in a kind, stable, loving relationship because you're picking up your spouse, because you're doing the right thing. These are the games of the narcissist. These are the waiting games of the narcissist. These are the toxic, challenging, manipulating games of the narcissist. This is what the narcissist does. They continue to exist in the narcissistic abusive cycle, which goes around and around and around. And at one period of time, you were in it, you were caught in it, you were trapped in it, and then you broke free or you were discarded. Either way, you're out of it. And now you're understanding that that was a close call. That relationship almost sincerely took you down for the count, but it didn't. And that's why you are learning, you're growing, you're teaching if you can. You're becoming awakened and aware, educated, and empowered, and you understand that you are the priority. You come first, second, and third. If you've risen through the ashes like a phoenix, and you are now entering the third version of yourself, the strongest, most galvanized version of yourself known to humankind, drop comments below. You know what I'm talking about. It took work. It took a mountain of work. It took time. It took a mountain of time. But in your time, you did heal. And along the way, did you have to process that that relationship wasn't what you thought it was? Yes. Did you have to process what narcissism was? Absolutely. Did you have to figure out and come to practice radical acceptance and realize that the narcissist never loved you? Yes, you did. Did you have to figure out and understand that the narcissist doesn't love anybody at all? Yes, you did. Did you have to realize that that relationship you entering it wasn't your fault? Yes, you did. Did you have to realize that you were manipulated, you were taken advantage of, you were looked at as an opportunity, you were looked at as a waste, so the narcissist could jump from their former relationship to your relationship, hoodwink and manipulate you, and then jump from your relationship, discard you, and go to the new supply, and on and on and on. Yes, you did. You had a huge learning curve to process. You had a huge learning curve to experience. You became so enlightened and awakened, you now cannot see the world through the same set of eyes because you cannot unsee what you've seen when you were in the narcissistic relationship. Hollywood has nothing on your life. You could get the best Hollywood writer on the planet and he or she could write any script you want and maybe it will make $1 billion. That's great, but they weren't with you when you had to lock yourself in the closet. They weren't with you when the doors were slamming, when the cupboards were slamming, and when glasses were broken. They weren't with you when you're experiencing rage fits in a car going 100 miles an hour. They weren't with you when objects were being thrown at you. They weren't with you when you were being triangulated, when you did not even know what triangulation was. All of these behaviors and more are what encompass the narcissistic relationship. It's not a good place to be. And when you don't know what you're up against and you don't have the wisdom about what narcissism is, you continue to work for the relationship and you continue to believe you can help somebody. The truth of that part is the narcissist doesn't want help. They've never wanted help. They don't want to introspect. They don't want to change. They won't be accountable, and they will just turn a blind eye or wipe the whole past clean and start fresh with a new supply. This is what they do. The narcissist is a toxic and challenging individual. And when you were in that relationship, I can assure you, there were periods of time when you were really giving to a fault. You really wanted to help them out. You really wanted to do the best you could, despite the fact they were peppering you with abuse. The narcissist saw this and they looked at that as a weakness. That's why they laid on the gas so frequently. That's why they didn't want your help. That's why they could abuse you, and they did abuse you as much as you possibly could accept. In other words, the kinder you were, the more they peppered the abuse. And then if you pulled back and you stood up and put a boundary in place, they would still pepper you. It doesn't matter. That's why the solution is to remove yourself from these people. So as the thumbnail mentions, that the relationship that you never knew you were a part of, that's what the narcissistic relationship is in a flat out nutshell. You cannot wrap your hand around it. It's not until you really zoom out, maybe months, years, decades later, and you process everything. Whenever you process that, there's no exact time when you're going to process everything. You're going to get light bulb moments the further you get away from these people. But when you process things and you look back and you say, holy cow, that is an incredible period of time in my life, and I'm so fortunate and grateful to be out of it. It's unlike anything that you've ever experienced. That's why you're in the community. That's why you made it this far in the video, and that's why you are understanding how important you and your life are, and that you should not be around any toxic people for 1 minute longer than you need to be. So everyone, that's the video. I hope you liked it. I loved doing it from the beautiful Carolinas. This is Andrew. Namaste. Have a great afternoon, evening, or morning, no matter where you are on the planet. You are not alone. Remember that. You are not alone. I love you all. God bless you. And be honest with yourselves. That relationship you were part of, you signed up for one thing, and it was something completely different. Drop your comments and wisdom in the community section or on the video and pay it forward. When your cup is full, you will understand that you are so fortunate to be out of that relationship, and each and every day is a blessing. Understand the message. I love you all. God bless you, and I'll talk to you tomorrow. All right. Bye, guys. And it is a beautiful day. Sorry about a little noise, but it's beautiful. Bye.